Hey everyone, I want to come on here and talk to you about something I've been privately dealing with since July this year, and I was thinking about maybe making this video just for my Patreons, but then I was talking to David and David said to me, I feel like you should do this for everyone because it might just help someone else. So I've been dealing with, since July, as I've said, like a bit of a cancer scare, like a health thing. And I'm someone who, touch wood, I get nothing wrong with me. I've had cancer as a child. So when I was a child, a lot of my time was spent in and out of hospital, but you know, and I've had scares over the years, but when it comes to like being unwell, like again, touch wood, I haven't actually had even a cold since 2020. And my family, my friends, David, everyone's like, how are you doing this? Even when people around me are sick, I don't catch anything. So for me to get anything wrong with me is a real shock. So back in July, something that I'm so grateful and so glad that I did, because I feel like this was the catalyst. I go on Amazon and I bought a body lotion. And I thought, oh, I'll get one that smells nice. So I got one that was like marshmallow flavour. I won't say the brand name because basically what happened is I was using it and I do get eczema. I shouldn't have bought it, didn't think. Sometimes fragrance can irritate my skin, but I was only using it on my legs, and I noticed that on one leg in particular, around my ankle, became really itchy, and I put it down to using that lotion because the other one was itchy as well, but just not as bad as this one. And I'm sat watching TV one evening and I was scratching the back of my leg on my ankle, and it felt like a mosquito bite was there because it felt raised but it felt crusty, whatever it was. And I was scratching away. I was like engrossed in what I was watching, and then I noticed some blood on my hand and I thought, oh god, I've scratched that too hard. And I look on my leg and there is the most huge dark black mole on the back of my ankle, and it's like crusty, it's bleeding, and I immediately, and it didn't have a round border, it was like mottled on the edge, and it had what looked like little stems coming out from all around it. And immediately I thought, that looks really sketchy. Well, that week, as it so happens, I was going to see my dermatologist for another mole that I had on my upper back that I wanted removed. The other mole, he'd already checked it. It was not dangerous at all. And while I was there, he removed it and he said to me, do you want me to look at any other moles? And I said, well, funnily enough, I've got this one on my ankle. By this point, it's still kind of itching, but I just stopped myself from itching it. But what I was noticing was at night when I was asleep, I was itching it. So I'd wake up in the morning and it would be even more inflamed. So he checks this mole using this device. It's like a magnifying glass kind of thing. And like they look at it, they press it on the skin and they look through. And he goes quiet. And that, I knew that something was weird because he's a very chatty person. But he goes quiet and he keeps going, let me have another look, let me have another look. And I'm like lying on this like couch bed thing, and he's like, look, I pull up my trouser and he's looking at it. And he said to me, he goes, I just want to check the rest of you to see if you have any other moles that look like this. And he wasn't saying anything, but he turned to concerned from quite jovial. So I had to stand there in my underwear, which was quite embarrassing. But he's seen it all, so it was fine. But he checked me all over for any other moles. And there was a nurse in the room at the time, just as like a chaperone. And he said, no, I can't see anything else that looks like what's on your ankle. And he said, can I have another look at it? So I get back on the bed again and he's looking at it again. And then he said, okay, right, go and get dressed. And I'll, you know, he goes to his desk and I get dressed. And then I come through and meet him at his desk. And he said, look, I'm going to be honest with you, that could be cancer. But he said, I can't be sure. And I didn't, you know when you hear news like that and you're like, no, it's not. It's fine. Nothing ever happens to me. It'll be fine. And he said to me, I can get it removed this week by a colleague of mine who is a plastic surgeon. Do you want me to book you in? And I will confess that I freaked out and I said no. And I got home and I told David about this mole on my ankle because he knew about it at this point, because I was like, oh, I got this really itchy mole and it looks really sketchy. And David was so annoyed at me. He was like, why didn't you just book it in, you know, just get it taken off once and for all. So anyway, I go and see my GP, my doctor, and by this point, my dermatologist has written to my GP saying, Sophie has this weird lesion on her ankle and I believe it needs to be removed. So I go and see my GP, because I then found out that, so my dermatologist is private, and I found out that there was a massive delay on pathology. So yeah, they could remove it quite quickly, but there was going to be this like 6-week plus delay on getting the results through, whereas the NHS is up to 4 weeks, so it was a lot quicker. So my GP looks at it and he doesn't like it either. He refers me to a dermatologist on the NHS who looks at it. But since July, I've seen 4 dermatologists, 5 if you include my own, 6 if you include my GP. So I've seen a lot. Then on the 15th of October, I was contacted by the surgeon that I'm seeing now, the dermatologist I'm seeing now. And he said, we've looked at this mole. By this point, they've taken like a bunch of photos of it. And he said, we want to get you in and it needs to come off. So on the 15th of October, I go in. I was so nervous. I went on my own because I was just like, I don't need anyone. I'm going to do this on my own. I know it sounds really silly, but that's just the way I wanted to deal with it. Going on my own, because sometimes when you have somebody else there, it can make you even more stressed, like if they're getting stressed because you're about to have something done. So I just wanted to deal with it alone. So they used local anaesthetic on the area, and he had to go quite deep with the margins. So I thought he was just going to scrape the mole off. He didn't. He went really like a crater, and he stitched it all up. I've got 2 sets of stitches, one like internal set of stitch on the ankle and one external stitch. And then he put all bandages over the top of it. And then after 14 days, I wasn't allowed to use the gym because I could pop the stitches. And it could, like, if you imagine on the back of your heel, there's no fat there. The skin is really tight. So when he dug deep, it's made like a V. It's made like a deep crater into my ankle. It doesn't look nice at all. But I'm glad not to have the mole there, so I'm not complaining. Well, on Monday this last week, I had a notification on my NHS app, which is like an encrypted app we get in the UK. And if the NHS write to you, it goes in there and it pings you and is like, you've got a letter. I'm in the gym at the time. Stitches have been removed at this point, and I'm waiting for my results. And I got off the bike. I was on the bike at the time, and I was like shaking a little bit, trying to log in and do Face ID and all that, whatever it is, just to get in. And I read the letter that had been sent to me, and it just said, we've got your results back and we need to speak to you, and we're going to phone you this Friday to talk to you about what we've discovered. And that's not good, is it? Like, it's in a way, I showed it to David, and then David was freaking out, and we both ended up leaving the gym actually because we were both like really shaken up by it. But we were reading it, and David said to me, well, yeah, it's not looking good, but also it can't be that bad because they're not going to tell you you've got cancer over the phone. That would be really callous. Like, they're going to get you in person. So I phoned up the number on the letter. And typical, they were closed. The lines closed at 2 o'clock and it was 3 when I phoned up. So I had to wait until the next day. I phoned up the next day. I spoke to a lady and I said to her, look, I just need to know if I've got cancer or not. She takes my hospital reference number, looks me up on the system. She goes quiet and she said, I can't tell you. You're going to have to wait for that call from a professional on Friday. And I said to her, this is Tuesday, right? I'm like, I can't wait until Friday to know if there's a problem. Because when I had the mole removed, I was going to tell you, the surgeon said to me, if this is melanoma, what tends to happen is it spreads into the rest of your body and you end up with cancers in other areas. Could be your lungs, could be bone cancer, could be any type of cancer. he was like, you end up with cancer in other areas. And I said, well, if I had cancer right now, would I know? And he said, no, you wouldn't know right now if you've got cancer elsewhere. You wouldn't have any symptoms, which is terrifying as well. So anyway, Tuesday, I managed to convince her to get someone to call me back later that day to tell me the news. And I took a call on Tuesday afternoon from a really lovely lady, and she said to me, again, she said, I can't tell you what your results are, but she said, I do want to tell you, I don't want you to worry too much, with an emphasis on too. And can you imagine, like, getting that news? It's like, what does that even mean? What does that mean? So I had no choice. I had to wait until Friday. Friday was my birthday, and to be honest, the call, although it could have gone a lot worse, it did ruin my birthday. So they phoned me at midday, and the lady I spoke to said, I was expecting her to say, we've made a meal out of it, it's benign. Like, I was fully expecting that, to be honest. But she told me the name of it. Let me tell you the name of it. Basically, it's a mole, I should say, that was turning cancerous. And she said they're taking it seriously because they believe it was weeks away from turning into a melanoma. And she said the type of mole is called a dysplastic junctional nevus. And I want to do this video for any of you watching. I don't want to panic you. But if you have a mole that you think is sketchy, go and get it checked out. Because I thought, oh, skin cancer. Like, obviously I don't want skin cancer, but that's like a nothing. It's not. It can spread and cause cancer elsewhere, and I don't want to freak everyone out, but it can do that, you know. That's why I'm taking it so seriously. So the bottom line is, she said this is what the lesion was. It's been removed, but she said I've got to go in for more surgery, and they're going to take out more tissue from where they already have operated, and they already have taken out a lot. And she said that it's going to happen before Christmas. She said, we want to get this done before Christmas. So she said, in the next few weeks, you're going to hear from us, and it could be any time that you need to come in, and we're going to do this surgery. I am really nervous because she said that because they think the mole was so close to morphing into something more serious, if there are any cells still left in my leg from that, they will be changing at the same speed of that mole. So I'm really nervous because I feel like I've potentially got this thing on my leg that's still there in a way. And because, as I said, there were little stalks coming off this mole from around the edge, it was like a spider. You don't know whether any of those stalks, because some of them were fairly long, you don't know whether any of those are still there as well. So I feel really stressed, and I give thanks for that awful body lotion that I used, which, because I never noticed this mole on the back of my leg. I mean, how often do you ever look at the back of your ankle? You know, I don't. I've never noticed it before. I don't know how long it's been there for. I only noticed it because I was using this body cream that gave me eczema that happened to trigger that mole and make it very itchy. And even after I stopped using that body lotion, the mole continued to be itchy from that point onwards. So I give thanks that I bought that body lotion, because I believe that saved me right now. Like, if I had not noticed this mole and I'd left it, things could be very different. And as I say, I just want to do this video for any of you who maybe just think, no, I've got this mole, but it's no problem. I don't want to deal with it. But if you're someone watching who maybe has a mole that you've been worried about, or just in the back of your mind, you're like, that's looking a bit sketchy, go and get it checked out. Your doctor can look at it. They use this special like device thing that looks at moles, and they can tell you if it's a problem or not. And the NHS have been brilliant. They have been absolutely brilliant and so thorough and so kind. The day I went in for that surgery, the surgeon was so kind, and he said to me, he showed me the mole on his screen, his monitor, computer, and it was like a close-up picture of it, and he explained to me in great detail why they were worried about it and exactly what about it was making them think it was something. And, you know, he was also very honest with me. You know, if you've got cancer, you're not going to know about it just yet. It's too early days. which no one wants to hear. So God willing, I get the margins taken out in the next couple of weeks. I get that worked on. The recovery was incredibly painful because it's an area where the skin is very tight and very taut. So there's no give at all. It's not like a fatty area where the stitch can, like, you know, flex a little bit. It didn't do that at all. It's really tight and has pulled quite a lot. So I'm really dreading any more surgery on it because the scar is very sore still. So the thought of them cutting open this scar is really cringy. But that's what's been going on. And I hope this video has not been depressing. If anything, I just wanted to do it because I really want it to help anyone potentially out there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.